What do you say, everybody? 14 Guitars here, and woo! I forgot to record my post-ride video that I always record, my summary of the ride I just took. I took a ride on the 13th of February. Today's the 15th, 16th. And it was the day before my 64th birthday, Friday the 13th. And rode the South Loop at Wambaw Cycle Trail on the YZ250X, which is not on the back because I've already taken it back to the office and cleaned it up. 22.2 hours on that beautiful 2005 YZ250X, and I love that motorcycle. It's the most luggable beast, and yet when you crank on it, it's got plenty of get up and go. Especially above 9,000 RPM, it really starts cranking it out. Maybe above 8,000 RPM, somewhere in there. There's kind of a, it goes up and then it kind of has a little increase in horsepower dramatically, more than say a YZ street bike or track bike. Anyway, I rode the South Trail. It was beautiful conditions. A little dark. It was fairly late in the afternoon. I couldn't get out of the office until a little later than I had hoped. And so the sun is very low this time of year. And it's in your eyes. You got to keep your visor down. I love keeping my visor up in the woods. I want to see that beautiful scenery as I ride. And I had to keep the visor down a good bit of the time. But anyway, it's a fun little ride. I don't even know what I talked about. Oh, yeah, I do. I talked about doing a workout ride where you're not trying to exceed your standard physical abilities or build them up. You're just trying to work out to stay in shape, and I wanted my heart rate to stay at 150 or below average. Of course, you're going to get peaks above that. Just hitting the whoop-de-doos on the power lines on Wambaw South, you're going to get a higher heart rate than 150. Most people. I think mine went up to 179 or something. But anyway, I got back and I checked my average heart rate, and on Ride with GPS, which uses my my chest strap heart rate as opposed to my wrist heart rate, which I use for my Garmin watch. I do both so that I have a backup in case one of the two fails. I always have a backup for heart rate and my GPS track by using both my watch and then my phone with Ride with GPS with a heart rate monitor on my chest. And that heart rate monitor is a little more accurate. And it averages out to exactly 150 beats a minute, which was kind of cool. And it was a good ride. The South has been groomed by our friends, Chris and Stephanie, and based on recent developments with them getting, regaining permission to groom the trails officially from the Forest Service, the National Forest Service, and all over the state. So here at Wambaw, up at the other National Forest trails, Enery, Wambaw, Parsons Mountain, and Spring Creek. I can't remember the last one. Anyway, there's 4 major ones in the state. And the one with spring in it, I always somehow forget the name of that thing. Cedar Springs, that's why I forget the thing. Anyway, the good news from that is they're going to be getting grants from the Blue Ribbon Coalition, and getting a Sweeco into the trails and really grooming those whoop-de-doos down like we used to do at Wambaw every year, twice a year. We'd get an actual real groom from a person who knew how to groom dirt bike trails, a professional. And he would do a great job with his equipment. And for some reason, a couple of years ago, they stopped using him. They had someone else try it, and that person, really was not experienced. And so they got about a mile into the trail on this, 18-mile trail, and backed out a mile instead of turning around, and just couldn't finish the groom. So I'm very, very happy with this news. Chris and Stephanie worked tirelessly on that. On Facebook, it's Wambaw Cycle Trail. Is that right? Wambaw Cycle Trail. Wambaw Trail Riders. Wambaw Trail Riders. I'm sorry, it's early morning. I'm barely awake. Wambaw Trail Riders on Facebook, and donate to their cause. Give them a little gas money. They're out there running all their equipment and working hard on their own gas money right now. Like, they're going up and they groom the South, and it was much better than it has been, and great fun, as you'll see in the video. Not much else to say. Happy New Year. I'm 64 years old now instead of 63. I had a fantastic ride, and staying fit makes you feel so good. I guess one thing I will say is, before this ride, I spent a couple sessions on my exercise bike, which I haven't done in several months. Nothing has been more dramatic for my fitness for riding my dirt bike, besides riding the dirt bike, as getting on the exercise bike. The exercise bike improves cardio so much, and improves the key muscles that are used when you ride a dirt bike so much. I can't recommend it enough. Get on an exercise bike or a real bicycle. That's why motocross riders are constantly spinning. They're out doing road work on their bicycles, because it gives them fitness. I was amazed at my, I yapped this whole 18 miles on the South Trail, and I didn't have any cardio issues whatsoever. I was never out of breath. I was never breathing that hard. So I really think that an exercise bike or a real bicycle is one of the best tools you can get. If you can't ride every week, ride your bicycle. I set my timer on my bicycle for 10 minutes so that I know psychologically, hey, I can quit in 10 minutes. Now, I usually end up riding 20 minutes and sometimes 30 minutes. And I usually end up riding much harder. Like this last session, I got my heart rate up to 201 beats a minute, which is pretty dramatic for me. And just at the last little, I was kind of doing HIIT training, where I'd go up a hill and then flat, up a hill, then flat, simulated on the exercise bike. And I really cranked it out on the last, 5 bars high, really, really, really high resistance on your legs every pedal you do. Once again, I recommend it. Happy New Year. Hope you guys are spending time riding, or at least hanging out with friends, people you love, people who love you, and people you both like. And if you like my videos, please thumbs up. Very important. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up for anybody, any video you see. Even if you don't even know these people, you get a video that's stuck in front of you out of nowhere, and you watch it and you like it, hit the thumbs up. It's really important to the algorithm to get it in front of other people. You don't necessarily have to subscribe, but if you like to be notified when someone puts a new video up, hit the subscribe button. All right. God bless you guys. Have a great week, and I hope you get out, and we'll see you next time. 14 Guitars, I'm out. What do you say, everybody? 14 Guitars here. We are at wonderful Wambaw. It is the 13th of February, the day before my 64th birthday. I've got a new camera because that little crash I had at up in Annery a couple months ago smashed the camera into my helmet and made the back of the screen, turned it black, which I could still run the camera, but it caused a problem internally where it drained the battery really fast. So this is my first time with a GoPro 12. I've been running GoPro 9s with no problems at all. They run just fine. They're great. But you can't find a brand new GoPro 9 in the box, and I didn't want to buy used. Today we're going to ride the South Trail, and we're going to take it easy. We're going to ride about 60%, and my goal is for my heart rate to average under 150 today. And the only way to do that is to take it just a little easy on the whoop-de-doos, especially those long stretches of whoop-de-doos. That's where my heart rate gets up in the 170s, 180s, and a little higher sometimes. All right, remember, this bike was really hard to start for a while. Just the float bowl works so well. So my brother-in-law, who is third in the state in Oregon, cross-country rider, he's retired now, but he actually ran 2 motorcycle and Polaris dealerships up until about a month ago. He told me just lean the bike over enough to get a little bit of fuel to flow out of it, and it should start right up. And I've been doing that, and so far he's been completely correct. Well, I leaned it over earlier a little more, but it's been about 10 minutes. All right, we'll try that. All right, gas is on. I think I smell it. I think it will literally start right up. There we go. Thank you, John. Well, my brother-in-law is John Fowler. Y'all can look him up, John Fowler. Pretty good rider up in the Oregon area, in the south of Portland. Now this bike is idling a bit high, and I have decided to just let it idle a little high. Once it warms up, it idles down just a little bit. When it first starts, it idles a bit higher. Today, like I said, I'm riding at about 60%. This is a workout. It's been a couple weeks. Basically, consider this a Wambaw Cycle Trail trail condition ride. I did ride the full north a couple weeks ago without saying one word, but my GoPro, unfortunately, I couldn't see the back of it, and I didn't realize that it was in time lapse until I hit the little the first section where you go into the kind of deep woods up there, where you go down the wood tunnel. And so I stopped there because I was a little tired. When I restarted it, I got it back into regular video. But that kind of was the driving force for me to go ahead and get a new bike, a new camera. All right, like I said, we're gonna warm up on the trail, which for me often doesn't work very well because I'm not very good at just warming up. But I'm gonna really try it today. There's a dad with his kids, or mom with their kids. That's awesome. They got helmets on. Folks, please take your kids with you, but please keep them in helmets. All right, I gotta adjust this this visor, and I'm gonna go and adjust that idle. That's just too high. I'll be right back, okay? All right, back up and running. I only had to back it down about probably less than a quarter turn. It was just past that little threshold where it's just it's a little bit too high idle. Also adjusted the tension on my visor. I like my visor up all the way when I'm in the woods. And where it's sunny though, I gotta lower it. So I'm gonna be facing the sun for quite a while here until I get back in the woods. So I gotta check. I put in an earplug, but I feel like I only put it in on the left-hand side. So let's just check that. Sorry about this stop and start and stuff, but you know, it is part of dirt bike riding, right? Especially if you don't go every couple of days. It's easy to get out of your routine, and unless you're doing a written checklist like a pilot, which I probably should, you're going to run into these issues. Well, both my earplugs are in, but oops, sorry about that. Both my earplugs are in, but the right one had come out a little bit. I obviously didn't get it pushed in all the way. If you push these earplugs in you squeeze them really, really small, and you get them deep in your ear, you get something like 30 decibels of sound reduction, which is tremendous. And I'm a giant fan of saving your hearing long term, and long periods of repeated sound above a certain threshold will harm your ears over the years. And at 64 tomorrow, I still have really, really good hearing. And I was a sonarman on submarines, so I was constantly listening with headphones and cranking it up the sound sometimes to listen to certain sounds. And so I'm very pleased to have preserved my hearing. I recommend earplugs to everybody who rides dirt bikes. And people talk about, think about four strokes. Four strokes have a lower frequency, right? The majority of their sound is lower frequency, a lower sound, like more of a bass tone than a two-stroke. But they're actually carry more energy. And low frequencies energy travels much further than high frequency. That's why you can hear a four-stroke in the distance much further than you can a two-stroke. Even though up close, a two-stroke is, you know, wee, 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 and you really hear it. You don't have to go very far where you can't hear it anymore. Four strokes, kind of like the sound of those medical helicopters in the distance. You can hear them from a long ways off. All right, let's roll. All right, like I said, easy ride. Keep the heart rate under 150, average. It's certainly going to get up in the 170s, maybe even a 180 at some section, probably the whoop-de-doo section. I'm in the warm-up section right now for me and my bike. Conditions, it's much sandier and drier than 2 weeks ago. Whew. Sunset in winter can be so brutal. So like I said, it's dry, it's a little bit sloppy, but temperature's fantastic. Whew. Blew out my berm there. Like, that's that dry conditions. When it's a little wetter, that sand holds together better. There's actually a formula that I saw recently about how the sand holds together. Like, you know, when you make a sand castle. And sandcastle will stay together, but only if the sand is wet. If the sand's not wet, sand will just turn into a sand dune. You can get pretty steep angles with wet sand. And the same thing happens on these berms. When the conditions are moist, the berm will really hold up. And as you put pressure on it, it actually gets stronger under that pressure. Like the give strength increases as the surface tension between the sand and the water interacts. But you take away the water, and the harder you press on it, the more it gives way. It doesn't get stronger. To hit fifth gear through here just to keep the acceleration mild. I think AJ Catanzaro would say keep it in fourth in case you need to drive off the bottom of one of those whoops. He's probably right, but he's got a lot more skill than me. I just keep it in a relatively high gear. We're in fourth now. I say it every time I think I ride, is we could ride this whole trail in fourth gear comfortably, as long as we keep, you know, 30% of our effort in ride. 30% effort is probably 60% of your fastest speed. 60%, which I'm trying to do today, is probably, you know, 70 or 80% of my faster speeds. But yeah, this is really snotty in the corners.
They're very dry. Gotta keep my visor down, going right into the sun here. I was gonna do a warm-up on the little track. There's 3 little tracks in near the parking lot there at Wambaw. Beginner track, a big rectangular track with a few whoops in between the on the straightaways. Real good for suspension adjustments and corner practice. They're all 90 degrees. And then the little practice track, which has about 10 turns in it, I'd say, of various radius. So 3 30-degree turns, right, is 90 degrees. 360 degrees is a full circle. I think it has turns in both directions, but you probably would want to ride it, you know, 10 laps in one direction, 10 laps in the other. Would make a good warm-up. Just taking it easy and let your body get a feel for the bike and the conditions, because the sand conditions on these little tracks is very similar to what you're going to find out on the trail. That's the one nice thing about it. If you've got a friend who's never driven sand, get them on the beginner track first, because it's got the least amount of sand in it. Then get them in the rectangular track, where all they've got to do is go straight and make a 90-degree turn. Straight, 90-degree turn. Then put them on the little practice track to the left after you go past the bathrooms. If you drive past the bathrooms are on your right. Up ahead and to the left is the little practice track with lots of turns and some fairly deep sand. That's very, very much an analog, a simulation, similar conditions to what you'll find right here, with just a lot more turns in a short space. Super good practice. The thing about sand is you need to keep more. I don't know if you need more, but it's very important to keep your momentum in a sand track going into the turn and coming out of the turn. Now see, we're done with this. We're out of the sand now. We're in mostly dirt. You can ride it more like a dirt track, but it won't be long. We'll be right back into that sand. I have started riding my exercise bike at my warehouse to get ready for a big surf trip. I'm going to go like on an 8-day surf trip next couple of months to Costa Rica, and that should be fun. Yesterday I put in about 20 minutes using what you might classify as a hit routine, which I can't remember is HIT, is high impact time training. I can't remember what HIT stands for. Look it up. It's where you do some high intensity something training, and you blast the hill. It's a hill climb. It gets higher and higher, tougher and tougher, and then it gets easy. A minute goes by, you do it again. High intensity. Then you rest on an easy section. You don't stop, but the section gets easier. That's one of the most effective methods of improving cardio. And for my surfing trip, cardio is going to be what I need the most, because I'm not going to be out paddling for probably more than an hour at a time. So I don't need that 3 and 4 hour endurance that you can use in some environments. We will surf for about an hour at a time, morning and lunch and evening. but I definitely need the cardio. And I can tell by how I'm talking right now, it's helping. The exercise bike is definitely helping. Yesterday, on my 20-minute hit training, my last big hill with super hard effort setting, I got my heart rate to 201. I've never got it above about 189 that I know of, so I'm not positive that that was a true reading. I'm using the little handles on the exercise bike that you hold on to, and I'm not sure how accurate those are. So I don't think I really got my heart to 201 at age 63, but we'll find out, because I'm going to ride it again the same way. I'm going to wear a chest strap and see how well it corresponds to the bike. I don't know how good the sound dampening is, the background sound dampening is on this GoPro 12. I've got it set to stock, and we'll see. Hopefully it'll be enough that you can hear me. I had a beautiful camp out on Monday night down at the Sea Island where I like to camp. A great supper, steak on the coals with baked potato and a big giant portobello mushroom with some Munster cheese. Put that on the grill over the oak coals. Cooked a big campfire, cooked it down to oak, just coals. Remember, touch your food with flame, you'll never do the same. It's bad, it's bad. Coals only. Friends don't let friends put flame on food. Flame is incomplete combustion. When it touches your food, it cools below the fire temperature, and you end up with soot and unburnt gases coating the surface of your food. So anybody who's cooked over a fire and thought it's awful, remember, the fire part is just a tool to get you to coals. Now you can keep your campfire going, but scrape your coals out to the side, put your food over the coals. Do not let the flame touch your food. Smoke can touch it, like oak smoke, but and hickory smoke or whatever, but not flame. Take a flame, any flame, put a surface underneath it, a piece of metal, and you'll see that metal turns black with soot instantly. That all goes into your food, and it is not good flavor. It's a bunch of carbon and other chemicals that do not taste good. If they tasted good, I wouldn't care, as long as they wouldn't hurt you. But they don't taste good, and they're probably not good for you. All right, I can't talk anymore because I haven't been talking much, and my voice is disappearing right now as we speak. So we'll get a little bit of a silent South Trail for a while. And remember, our goal is to average of 150 or less at the end of the ride. just goes right in the woods, and turns around and comes right back. If I would have made a left on this road here instead of this right, you can return. So it's a short trail. We want the full 20 miles. One thing I'm going to do here that I did not do at Enery, and it cost me a broken GoPro, is I am going to go a little slower as the light dims because I'm losing depth perception. The camera is going to be much brighter than the conditions show, and I can tell that I'm losing a little bit of depth perception. So in the areas where I lose depth perception, I'm going to take it with a lead. And really pay attention. I didn't pay attention at Enery. Was at the wrong turn. Thought I'd already made it to this one jump where there's an instant left after the jump, and I was wrong. I was at the jump where there was an instant left, cleared the jump and went straight into the woods and bounced over the handlebars. My GoPro hit my handlebars, which pushed the back of the GoPro screen into my helmet chin mount and internally broke that screen. It didn't break externally, so I didn't even actually know it was broken because I don't generally look at the back screen of my GoPro. I just turn it on or turn it off, like archive mode, right? On or off. And that sun is bright, baby. But yeah, you got to pay attention when you start to lose familiar landmarks. You know, the only reason I can go as fast as I can at 30%, I'm still going decently fast for these trails, you know, even when I'm riding 30%, is because I know what's coming up next. I maybe couldn't tell you coming up here is this one turn everywhere. I can tell you that in some sections. But if you don't know what comes next, right, like any new trail, you have to go slower because you're not sure what's coming next. All right, I don't know if you can hear me now or not, so I'll just stop talking until I get off this connection road. Not today, YZX. We're just gonna roll today. Nice and easy. Take the time to warm up on the practice trail before, because this sun is really brutal. It's going right in my eyes. Whew, like that. Thankfully we'll be turned around. We'll be doing it 180, another 5 miles or something like that, and we'll be going the other direction. So late afternoon, you might want to ride to south. That way, the last part of your ride, you're riding away from the sun instead of having the sun right in your eyes. You ride to north, you're going to be heading north when you leave the parking lot, but then halfway through, you make a U-turn and you go straight back into the sun the entire way back to the parking lot. And that doesn't matter which of the return trails you use, right? They're all going south. I mean, it's slightly southwest, but the sun sinks into the west anyway, so it's not better. Now this is a false U-turn. We're going away from the sun right now. but it's temporary. I love the shadow. Wait till we get to the whoop-de-doos, the power lines. We're gonna have these really long sections of my shadow. And you can see that while my head is pretty steady, the bike and my body, my feet, will be moving around quite a bit. And you'll see that in the shadow, which is a really cool effect. So all I'm doing right now is keep it in the upper gears, take it easy in the higher gear. Stand up 100% as much as I need to, but not a bit more. Sit down in between. A big left up here after this big right. So we will start to go a little bit away from the sun, at least for a little while. There we go. That didn't last long, did it? Visor up and enjoy the beautiful woods and the beautiful view. We got a couple more times back in the sun before we make our real turn, but I can just squint in between. Whew. Squint there, couldn't see. Time lapse on the first part of the north where I didn't talk, because one thing it shows very well is how I go around a lot of whoop-de-doos like this and then like that. So that was 4 whoop-de-doos and I hit about 2 half whoop-de-doos by staying near one edge, then hit the downside in between the two, getting on the upper edge of the other side, and never really hitting the second or third whoop-de-doo at all. I think a lot of guys ride that way, and I think it's a real efficient way to ride where you just don't get as tired. Now, you won't get as good a workout if that's what you're going for. You're going for a workout, hit every single whoop you do. Right, as hard as you can, or as hard as they are, and don't avoid them. If you're on a really good workout, go to Manchester. Man, Manchester is quite the workout. Of course, the north right now is quite the workout. It's Groove. It's got quite a few heavy-duty whoop-de-doos. And it's a much longer trail, twice as long as any trail in Manchester. Now, you can go from trail to trail in Manchester, but on the north, do the full trail, you have no choice. You're doing a 20-mile trail. Manchester, you can do an 8, and a 9, and a 2. And take your pick. Here we're really lugging this YZX motor. It lugs exceptionally well. It lugs really well, especially when it's this good weather. The jetting is really, that I've got it is perfect for a little bit cooler weather. It might be very slightly lean, as a matter of fact, on the needle. But the jets themselves are probably, what do I got, a 45 and a 174, I think. Then my power jet I changed from a 55 to a 40. Power jet's a little bitty jet in between the float bowl and the carb body, and it blasts huge blasts of fuel above a certain RPM, and I would rather control fuel with jetting than my throttle position sensor RPM. So I credit Klinger with this mod, and Klinger's the guy that came out with the hitless system for the YZ250, which is a power valve system that a lot of people love. Cody Webb had it installed, he makes sure to use it. A bunch of people like it a lot. You know, Cody Webb's a mechanical engineer, and like me, he's kind of one of my favorite guys who rides. He's a little older now. Whew. I'm sorry we're going painfully slow. I hope it's at least the scenery is pretty enough to make up for it. I like watching my videos when I'm riding fast and on the edge for me. It really gets my my mirror cells working right. If you watch a video, your muscles, you'll notice your muscles will be twitching and you'll be leaning from side to side because your sympathetic system actually simulates or interprets what you're viewing as if you're doing it. Just missing is the physical kinetics of it. But the psychological part of it stimulates your body. Essentially visualization, except you don't have to visualize it in your brain. You've got a recording of it. Before recording, people would use visualization to sort of rehearse what they're going to do. I'll bet warriors over the millennia have used it to imagine themselves fighting a foe and winning, going through the motions in their mind about what they're going to do. We all do it, right? What is it, every man If you ever get a chance to stop a gunman or rescue a lady in distress, you realize that you've been practicing it in your brain your whole life. At least many of us do that. I do it all the time to this day. But like I said, 64 years old tomorrow. I had the chance to rescue a little girl in the woods right here at Wambaw. I'll tell the story, I'll go a little slower. So I was on the North Trail and I rode, it was the middle of summer, hot as it could be. It was probably around 2022, maybe earlier. And I rode down the Whoop Tunnel. After the first section where you go deep in those little windy woods, there's a little creek you cross. You make a sharp right at the end of those woods, which is a road where you can go fast, and then it enters what they call the Whoop-de-doo tunnel, the Whoop Tunnel, which is a long straight downhill between grooms, usually quite a bit of whoops on it, but you can roll it up in the 30s to 50s depending on how you ride it. I've ridden it 55 before, my fastest times through here. Anyway, before you get to, when you get to the bottom of the Whoop Tunnel, there's a few sections of back and forth, and then you pop out on a little short road, cross that road to get back in the woods. And right at the entranceway to the next trail, where I would normally go back in the woods, was a guy in an old gray car with the door open. And I stopped, and I leaned in and I said, "Are you okay?" And he looked at me with a little crazed look. Big guy too, big old guy, probably 50-year-old guy, 6'4", 250, I don't know. He's probably grown in my memory, but he was big, a lot bigger than me. I'm at the time about 180, 5'8". Anyway, so he looks at me and he says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm fine. Are you all right?" He says, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yes, I'm fine. Take it easy." And I thought, well, okay, he doesn't want anybody messing with him. I don't know what he's doing there. I made it about 50 yards. I went in the woods, made it about 50 yards in that trail. And this really pretty young girl, big old cool school teacher glasses on, I'll never forget, just drenched with sweat. Drenched with sweat. Scratched up a little bit on her arms, like on her cheek. She steps out onto the trail in front of me, and the look on her face was, I would describe it as in terror. And I slammed to a stop, and the very first thing I did was I turned around and looked behind me and thought, am I going to get, is this some kind of weird thing? We're going to try to take my bike or who knows what, get ambushed. And he was still in his car. And she had in her hand a phone and a bottle of water. And she said, "He's sick. He's sick. Like ill, not psychopath, but like ill." The way she was saying it was like this kind of nice way. But while she said it, her eyes were saying, "Please save me." And so I just said real quietly under my breath, "Is this guy chasing you?" And she said, "Yes. Can you help me?" And so I said, "Give me your phone." I could tell she was on the phone with 911. And I said, "Give me your phone, take your water, and go up the trail, and then get off the trail about 50 yards and hide off the trail," which she did. And so I was on the phone with 911, and I immediately turned around and I walked and I told him, I said, "There's a guy chasing a lady here, a young girl, an old guy chasing a young girl through the woods," and walked back towards his car, and he got out of his car and started walking towards me. And I told him, I said, "Listen, I'm professionally trained and I am armed, and I don't want you to walk toward me. And I'm asking you if you would please stop walking toward me. And he did stop. And I told him, I said, I'm not telling you you have to stay here, but I'm on the phone with the police and they're going to come. And so I'm asking you to stay here. But if you would please just lift up your shirt for me and rotate, turn your body so I can see if you're armed. And he said, I'm not armed. And he picked up his shirt and he did a little pirouette there, rotated his body so I could see. And the whole time I'm walking sideways to get behind a big tree for cover, because you never know. With someone doing something crazy like that, you don't know what else they'll do. Also, here he is caught, and I'm the only guy besides her that can testify or whatever to what's happening here. And I got behind the biggest oak tree, which was about 50 yards from his car. And he got back in his car, and I said, I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to stay on the phone with the police till they get here. He got his car, he locked the door. I think he started it up, so the air conditioner would run. And it took quite a while to get someone out here. Finally, I actually had to get a hold of Chris and Stephanie, our famous, wonderful, incredible Wambaw hosts. I believe they were still hosts at the time. Maybe it was after they had finished being hosts here. But I called them and I had them explain where I was to the police. 30 minutes went by probably, and I believe, I'm not sure, some small police department car showed up, and they drove up to about 100 yards from me. And by that time I was standing on the road by that trail. I had taken off my shirt, and the only thing I had on was my riding pants. And I just held my hands in the air, and they asked me on the speaker, right, where's the gun? Because 911 here heard me tell him that I was armed. And I said, it's over there with my clothes, which were about 10 yards from where I was standing. And they walked up to me. One of them had an M14 or an M4, whatever it was, AR-15 style rifle. The other guy had his Glock, and he didn't point the AR-15 at me, but he had it at the ready, definitely at the ready. And so one of the guys came up behind me, and he patted me down, and he asked me again, where's your firearm? And I told him, and I said, do you want to see my license or whatever? And he said, no, you're fine. And I pointed to the car, and I said, there's your guy. I told him what happened. By that time, the girl came walking out of the woods, and they told her to stay back. Then a couple of sheriffs showed up. Then a helicopter was above us. Then an ambulance showed up, and I believe they took that guy. I believe they took her to the ambulance, and then another ambulance came and they took him, because I think he was on some kind of, I don't know if he was on something or not. He was not acting normal. He was acting very unusually. And anyway, about the time the second ambulance showed up, I got on the bike and left. They never asked me for my name. They never asked me for my license. Once they saw that I was not a threat, the only thing they cared about was getting that guy in custody and getting help for the girl, which is great. I think they would have done a little better job to identify me, but they were definitely had their hands full with the dude and the chick. That whole long discussion, all I wanted to say was, having been trained quite a bit and being armed, at a time. It might have been a very important time. You know, I still don't know if that guy had a firearm in his car. You know, I stayed behind cover until the police came. And even then, I could see, you know, I had some cover between me and the car where I was standing in the road. And it felt really, really good. It was one of those things where, like, you know, you never know. People always say, what are you so afraid of? That you got to carry a firearm. And I'm not afraid of anything, right? But I'm prepared for almost anything. And that's a great feeling. Now, I know there's a lot of law enforcement, if they hear this, will say, you never should have done that, are you crazy, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what they think. I'm a grown man. I'm a free man. I have a right to protect myself and to protect others. And it took 30 minutes for law enforcement to get here. And who knows what would have happened if I hadn't been here. Who knows? The look on that girl's face when I first saw her, and then when I left, I do not care. No one's going to tell me that I did the wrong thing. and maybe there's probably the majority of Leos, of law enforcement, would say I did the right thing. And to them I say thank you. I agree. But, you know, I have my opinion on what's the right thing to do, and I act on what I think is right. I've been wrong before. Many, many, many times. I'm 64 years old tomorrow. Been wrong countless times, but I've been right a lot. And I have a lot of life experience. And I know what I'm willing to do. And that's all we can do, right? Now, some people, they do what they want to do, even when they know it's the wrong thing. And my advice is don't do that. Do the right thing. Do what you know. Do what you believe is the right thing. Even thieves know, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. That was the wrong thing to do, but I'm going to do it because I want to. But they still know it's the wrong thing to do. If you ask them, you know, is this right or wrong? They know. That's why thieves have such low self-esteem. They know. No matter what show, how much of a show they put on, a big, loud show, or a quiet, introverted show, or whatever, they know they're doing the wrong thing. And human beings, our psychology, almost all of us mentally feel better doing the right thing. All right, we're on the two-way track here. I keep a little special, pay a little special attention on the two-way. I don't know, yapping as much as I've been talking, if I've been able to keep the heart rate down or not. But we'll see. It feels pretty good. I feel like I've done a pretty good job of keeping a fairly low heart rate. But it's about to go up dramatically in all these whoop-de-doos. Use a lot of large muscles to ride whoop-de-doos. It's going to not stop for a while like here. Long, stretched out sections. make up for the fact that you're low on oxygen, because you're using it all up on your muscles. I'm going to say 170 or less. Last time it was like 185 here, and it went up a bit after this, like right here. It continued to rise, and I got a little further, I think, before it starts to go down. Why are we doing this? Because this is a workout ride, not a ride to see how fast I can actually go. That's coming in the future. I want to get a little bit of fitness before I challenge the course again. I gotta say, the bike work, that exercise bike, I've said it in the past, but it's been a while because I haven't ridden it in a while, is the most important thing I've done to improve my dirt bike riding. Is riding the exercise bike or mountain bike or street bike, bicycles. Got a little close to a trail dragon on the left side there. I can feel it under my boot. Point those toes in. Hopefully at worst, a trail dragon bangs the side of your boot instead of ripping your boot off your peg. Remember at Ennery, one of the first times I rode this bike, I hit a trail dragon on the side of the trail and bent my left pedal, foot peg, about an inch backwards. Imagine if I would have wedged my boot in there, what could have happened? Luckily, my boot flew off when whatever it was hit my foot peg. There's danger at the edge of the trail. You're 100% safe in the middle. You start getting in the close to the sides, your danger goes up, up, up. And then the slightest mistake, you hit something on the side of the trail. Try to stay away from the very sides of the trail, the very edges. I think we've done a great job on heart rate. And I can feel it now, starting to build because I'm going faster over a longer period. But I think we've reached our goal. I think my average heart rate will be 150 or less. Even with all the talking, I have not been hard up for oxygen. But of course I'm riding, as you can see, much slower. I've done this South Trail in like 44 minutes, I think, before. Something like that, maybe 45 minutes. This is probably going to be an hour ride, right? I don't know. The moving time. So a good bit slower. 75% as fast as I usually do. Riding 50% the effort. Oh, one thing I'm doing, you might think about it. I have a recombinant exercise bike. Sit on it. But I ride it barefoot, and I put the balls of my feet on the pedal axles, so that I'm actually pushing with the balls of my feet. There we go, gate to gate, at all times. I'm always pushing with the balls of my feet. All right, let's see how she idles. Whew. All right, not terrible. Great day, guys. Beautiful day. One awesome thing about my birthday is my wife, see, this year I'll be 42 years married. My wife is a fantastic cook, and she is going to make a German's chocolate cake. Yes, there is an S in there. It's German's, named after people with the last name of German. So it's his cake, German's cake, not German chocolate cake. It's German's chocolate cake. I'm sure you'll see it both ways written. Anyway, she always makes me a German's chocolate cake, and it is incredible. She's a phenomenal cook. And we get the freshest eggs. A friend of ours actually has chickens, so we get chickens that are a couple days old, like fresh every Sunday. We take an egg carton to church, and she sends us home with an egg carton full of fresh organic eggs raised in their backyard. Anyway, all right. We're going to tie a clove hitch here. All right. What a ride, everybody. Woo! Spectacular day. Nobody here now. There were a couple people here when I got here. I hope it was interesting enough to watch. Thank you, everybody, for watching the videos. I'm glad you enjoy them. I am working on some other topics to actually come up with. I notice I tend to repeat myself because there's certain things I continue to stay interested in over time. So right now, I don't have anything new to say. Thank you for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you like my videos, please hit that thumbs up. And if you want to be notified when I put a new video up, go and hit the subscribe. Thank you so much. I hope you can go ride with your friends and loved ones, people who love you and like you, and people who you like too. 14 Guitars here. I'm out with this new GoPro 12. We'll see how it does. Thanks again.